Welcome to Word of Mouth with the one and only Kellen Mataafa. We're also here. I'm joined by my very special co-host, Stephen Peacock. He's over here on the left in the maroon.
Hey.
We're so happy to be back today. Today we're with one of my best friends in the whole world, Kellen Mataafa, like as aforementioned. Kellen is the owner of Zephyr Barbershop in downtown Birmingham, which is one of the most famous barbershops in the country, which is pretty crazy.
I think even in the world.
Maybe even in the world. So, Kellen, my question for you to start us off, to kick us off, is what is it like to own one of the coolest things in the city that you live in?
I don't think you see it that way.
Hold your mic like right around here.
Oh.
That'd be better.
Check.
Just somewhere around your chin should be good. Sorry.
I've never led worship before.
Yeah.
I honestly don't think of it like that. I don't think of it that way. So I'd never really had that thought. I do think that Zephyr is really cool, and I think that it's been really cool hearing people's affirmation and just people communicating. Just it's fun reading good reviews and people coming up to me and saying things that are really, really just nice. So I don't know. I mean, it's been great. I mean, it's something that I probably do need to take more time to appreciate and.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that I feel like I want to ask you about is, or I just want to thank you for, and besides you owning a space where I have amazing haircuts, is whenever I was like, I think I'm going to start having a podcast. I was literally had maybe one of my first workshop conversations while sitting in a hair while you were cutting my hair a little over a year and a half ago, which is kind of crazy. And then you were like, I've got some stuff, you can have it. And I was like, oh, let me pay for it. And you were like, nah, you can have it. And so I just want to say that we're sitting here having a podcast partially, I mean, not even partially, a pretty big chunk of the reason why we're doing this is because you gave me all your stuff. None of your stuff, really only the headphones ended up working. But still,
I will say this. I didn't give them to you forever.
Not forever, no. You can have them back whenever you want to have your, because your podcast idea
sure that
is.
People know that I didn't just give them to you, but
right.
I did. I really don't. You asked me to rent them, and I was like, "That's lame." To rent something from your friend.
Your podcast idea is actually brilliant. You want to talk about it?
Yeah.
Plug yourself.
My podcast, that idea that I'll probably never do, but hopefully I get to do. I don't know if I want to talk about it.
Okay, we can keep it a secret.
That's fair.
I don't want to keep it a secret, but I don't know.
We do have a lot of listeners, and they might steal it from you, so you don't want to.
Yeah.
It's okay if you don't want to talk about it.
That's a good point, too.
Tell us about, you do make content and stuff for your barbershop. What's that like?
It's actually probably one of my favorite. It's probably one of my favorite parts of my job.
Yeah.
Is making the Instagram reels.
Actually?
Yeah, and it's honestly a lot of people's worst part of their job. They hate it.
Right.
I tell people often that in another life, I think I would literally just do that.
That's crazy.
Which is weird. But
you literally could get such a big following doing that, especially because you have the aesthetic factor. You could get such a big following doing that where you wouldn't even have to cut hair anymore.
Right.
Yeah, there's a shop in New York called 12 Pel.
Mm-hmm.
And they started doing funny videos, and I mean, I'm convinced. I think now they charge like $200 a haircut if they do haircuts.
Wow.
But I'm convinced that none of them cut hair anymore.
That's so interesting.
They just make funny videos.
What is the most expensive haircut that you can get? What is the? I don't know if that question makes any sense, but I feel like in a market like New York, $200.
It's high.
That is high there.
Yeah, I mean it's for a barber for a short haircut.
Yeah.
I do think that like New York. I mean, you're probably still $100 isn't crazy.
That's crazy.
I do think $200. I think is pushing. I think that's where. I mean, like I said, these guys have kind of made it to this celeb kind of barber hair social media account, and so I think that probably drives the price up. But I have friends that charge $100 for a haircut that live in smaller cities like Birmingham. I mean, it's in my opinion, just with my understanding of hair, I do think like, for me, it comes down to if people are willing to pay it, then it's worth it.
It's fair. Yeah.
Yep.
Quite literally, you get to see the supply and demand before your very hands.
Yeah.
For your very own eyes.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but the thing I was going to ask you about earlier. So, the thing that I thought about asking you earlier before I wanted to thank you about my podcast equipment is, very first time you cut my hair, you drove to the beach and you cut a bunch of guys' hair for like, I remember you being like, yeah, just pay whatever you want. And then the second time you cut my hair, you drove to my apartment to cut my hair and you cut your finger open. I remember that, specifically you cutting your finger open. And then for years I went to that house that you lived in whatever the name of that area of Brook Highlands is. And so essentially what I'm trying to say is you grinded for a very, very long time before you opened up your own shop. So are there days where you're sitting in your shop and you're just like, man, I really hustled for this? Like kind of like you're looking at your mountain that you just climbed kind of vibe?
Yeah, I think it was dragged out. I think a lot of that grind or hustle just had a lot to do with not necessarily like the cutting hair in like, bathrooms and cutting hair in basements and all that kind of stuff. Like had more to do with my timeline of where I was in school still / no, that's it really. Like timeline of where I was in school with at UNA, and not able to start a barber school / like not really wanting to like have to go to a barber school and trying to see if there's any way that I could just like somehow do like some sort of apprenticeship or something like that.
Yeah.
I think I really fought against wanting to go to barber school because I learned how to cut hair. Really just, I don't know if I would say self-taught, but I really learned by going and hanging out at Greasy Hands in Florence and then watching these guys asking questions and then going to my basement with my friends and just mimicking what I saw. And to a point where I kept doing that, and eventually I like was able to cut hair well. And so for me, thinking about doing a whole 10 months to a year in barber school just didn't sound fun. It just sounded like I was just going to do it for the sake of jumping through hoops, which I just was trying to buck against. But eventually I gave in and I needed to do that. And so I think a lot of this, thinking back to, like I said, cutting hair in basements and all that kind of stuff, like it was a grind, but a lot of it was because I was stubborn to just not go to barber school. So
that's interesting. Did you know that like another thing that literally maybe not many people know is Kellen's not from Alabama. He's from California. And I think that always makes for a great conversation whenever we talk about that. But when you were, even back then, like even in high school, in your first year playing quarterback and at a collegiate football level at a school in California, another little known fact about Kellen is he was a quarterback. But anyways, even back then, did you know you want to own your own business?
Yeah, I think I've always wanted to be a business owner of some sort.
What was your original entrepreneurial idea?
Original, I mean, like throughout high school, I didn't have like any sort of business desire in general. Like there wasn't anything that I was. It's always changed. I'll say that. Like the farthest I can remember of like being an entrepreneur of some sort, and it's weird saying entrepreneur because like I own a small business downtown, but like when I think in my head when I think entrepreneur, I'm not thinking of like people who own small businesses. I'm just thinking I'm thinking of like people who, are driving crazy cars.
Yeah, like hustle
Instagram.
kings.
Yeah. And so I think, but to the definition of the word, I think the first time that I could think of being entrepreneurial in my life was when I was in 4th grade. And do you guys remember those like lanyards where you'd buy the little plastic lanyards and then you'd put 2 over and then 2 underneath and it like created this like.
Wait, yes.
I think I know what you're talking about.
It's like long, like.
It's like a braid thing?
Almost like a braid. But But it was like square.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I started a business where I bought a bunch of colors, and then I started making them, and then I would weave in a keychain for your backpack.
Oh, that's
and
sick.
I started selling them at school for like for I think 25 cents or 50 cents.
Oh, that's hype.
And I remember I had everything in this box underneath my bed, and like I had so much quarters in there because people. So like that's the first time I could remember like being entrepreneurial at in anything. And then when I got to high school, two of my friends, Tyler and Patrick, Tyler was like super into LA like streetwear.
Yeah.
And like we loved like Diamond, and we loved like the Hundreds, and there was a company called Pink Dolphin.
Yeah.
And we were so into that. And Patrick was a friend from my baseball team, and he and I were always just like wanting to invent something. Like that was our goal, was like we thought about like what if we made, I remember this one specifically is I was like, what if we made a baseball bat and like designed our own baseball bat? And we literally talked about it for like a few months, and then that kind of died out. And then we're like, what if we did like a push pop, but it's butter?
That's a good idea.
I think that's actually a thing now.
I don't
know. Actually, I've seen people who they melt butter and like put it into, it's like a DIY thing. They put it into like a deodorant container. But I've seen that.
That's actually really smart.
And so that was one thing that we were like, let's try and do that. And so that didn't work. And then Patrick, so I had Patrick, and then Tyler was so into these. He was working at Zoomies. He worked at a couple stores. And we came up with this clothing brand called FR. EHFAR. Everything happens for a reason. And we on Custom Ink, I think is the website.
Oh yeah.
We went on there and like I made the designs on paint.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
On paint. And I made these designs on paint, and our logo became a
shaka.
A shaka sign. And then we were attaching like I was attaching like cheetah print to like the shaka sign, or different colors. And we were doing like a lot of, we're in California, if you were doing a lot of tank tops.
Yeah.
And we were doing a lot of we did sweatshirts with like FR in cursive, and then we did the dance team at a rival high school. One of their dance team captain, I think, was like one of our close friends, and we made all of their dance shirts.
No way.
For their and we were able to put FR on the back with like across the back here, and that was like, I mean, I think I only made like $300 and something like total.
Yeah.
For like me, I think we each came out with like $300.
That's huge.
Which is, as a, I think that was junior year.
Yeah.
Junior or senior year. That was like another spark of like, I want to make something. Like I want to make something, and I want to provide like value in a way, but I want to like kind of leave. I don't know if it's like, I've been trying to think about this for years. I think even just since Zephyr started, like, do like, what am I wanting out of this? Am I wanting like to leave my like, legacy is not the word, but just like find significance in this, or do I just specifically or just simply want to make something cool for other people to experience? And I think that's kind of where I've landed. And so I think that's something like when I look back at my life so far, I think there's been just like a little bit of, that like kind of woven into my story. Yeah.
I think it is hilarious hearing your perspective, or hearing the California version of that. Because when I was in high school, me and my buddies, like, I mean, you probably experienced this at UNA a little bit too. This isn't really a thing anymore, but back in the day, like Frocket t-shirts with just random brands were everywhere. And me and my buddies, mostly me, started a company called Preppy Peacock. It was like completely based off of Simply Southern, which is the most popular t-shirt brand.
Yeah, I've never heard of that before. Simply Southern.
Simply Southern. Yeah, they're like sell t-shirts at Cracker Barrel and stuff now. But the Simply Southern Shirt Company, Southern Point Co. Like I was so obsessed with that stuff whenever I was in high school, because I just like loved like flaunting this like elegant, like I don't even know how to explain it. Like this elegant, like Southern, like I don't want to use the word debutante, but I feel like that's the only word that's really coming to mind right now. But that kind of vibe, like I was like so into that vibe whenever I was in high school. But it's hilarious, like I was doing that in high school while you were in California with like a Shaka sign. Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah,
like
rocking cargo shorts.
A Zoomies brand idea. It's crazy.
I'm trying to. I probably somewhere have on my on someone's Facebook. We have a picture of what that would have looked like, and I'll have to find it. But I mean, it was a long, oversized tank top.
Oh yeah,
with cargo shorts, high top Nike socks.
Still got them.
Still got it.
With Vans.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Vans to match, though. Not like mostly just, all white Vans, all black Vans, black and white Vans, period. But like colored Vans that might match your outfit.
The shirt.
Like cheetah print Vans to match the cheetah print Shaka.
Yes.
That's pretty insane. Yeah, the only overlap between my high school fits were just the white Nike socks. And it's so funny that those are the only things we are still wearing right now.
Yeah.
Is the white Nike sock is just...
Yeah.
It is a little bit timeless.
They stood the test of time.
Yeah.
They are timeless.
Yeah, they're timeless. They can be worn poorly. If you wear them with loafers, they suck.
or you wear them with Under Armour shoes.
Oh, dude,
that makes
disrespectful.
That makes me like abnormally annoyed whenever people mismatch brands, like Under Armour shorts with an Adidas.
But it's
shirt.
got to be, but it's got to be sports. Like,
yeah.
I'll wear these with my actually I do wear these with Reeboks. So that's probably not a good idea. But I don't wear shorts.
No, yeah, like I'm talking about at the gym or something like that. Like also, I feel like whenever you're wearing an Reeboks don't really count. Reeboks are like. Those are like street.
Yeah, I was gonna say those are like skate shoes.
Yeah.
I think in my head I'm thinking about like when you're playing sports.
Yeah.
So like if you're wearing the cleats with the short or with the
right.
socks or like the basketball shoes with the socks.
Yeah,
like
don't wear Adidas
Jordans,
cleats with Nike Elites.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I used to wear in football. In high school you double up your socks and wear one black, one white.
Yeah.
So there's like a black stripe. So Abby forgot her phone, so I'm just making sure that she's okay.
Okay, good. That's really, really funny. Me and Mars were literally talking about that this morning on our run. We were talking about what do we actually want out of like doing a podcast? That's kind of like a New Year's resolution 2025 talk. And I think that's like a really great question to ask yourself. Like one thing that I was talking about was how can I align podcast being more of kind of like who I want to be in the world. And I really, really related with what you're saying, how it's like it doesn't really have very much to do with barbering. It has more of a thing of like you've been given a taste and an eye to make something cool and you want to make a like felt experience for someone to come in and enjoy something cool. I think that is like literally like the same thing. Like I have this like weird obsession. If I could do anything for the rest of my life today, I would franchise a Waffle House and make it like the best, coolest Waffle House in the world. You can ask Myers. This has been kind of my like hyper fixation lately. I also went to Waffle House for lunch, so it's really on the mind right now because I had a terrible Waffle House experience.
You want to shout out which one that was?
Definitely, I will shout him out because I do think that.
I'll tell you which one it wasn't. I'll say that.
Yeah, the one by Walmart in what is the name of that area?
Like Irondale?
Eastwood, Irondale. Yeah. It's a new one. They're still trying to figure it out. But like there's some in Birmingham, like Green Springs.
The one right here on 31.
Is that one good?
Yeah.
Okay. The Green Springs one is like genuinely shouldn't be open. It is horrible. Like it is terrible. This one is
the only one I go to.
Really?
Yeah.
I've only been to that one day and it was on snow day. It was like literally we kind of were like, I don't know if we can drive there because it was snowing so much that day. And we still went, and they were just like trucking people in and out of there. It was kind of awesome. It's like one of the only open places.
You know our barbershop that our lights, our globe lights, were inspired by Waffle House.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
No way.
Dude, they got the aesthetic right, and they've never had to change it. That place is like the people there are freaking in. It's like as almost as if they go and they find like the closest to homeless possible. And they're like, we got to get you working at Waffle House. Like it's kind of crazy, the type of people. And I was talking to my uncle about this over Thanksgiving break, my hyperfixation on owning a cool Waffle House. And he was like, honestly, the employees are part of the experience too.
Definitely.
And I was like, that's fair.
Super fair.
Because I was like,
that's why you can't hire just like you got to hire some bad apples.
oh yeah.
It's kind of part of the experience.
Yeah.
I feel like if you could if you were a Waffle House operator, if you could perfect the act of finding someone who's like a weird bad apple vibe, but also has that like that amazing, because every once in a while you'll strike gold and you'll find one that's like,
hey so sugar, strange. What can I do for you?
Yes, so strange, but also like your cups are full all the time.
Yeah.
It's like clean as freak.
Yeah,
and the food is good.
Yeah,
and you're like, this is it.
Dialed.
Like I've never been so glad to give my tip to people.
Oh
right.
No, yeah, never in my life. It's actually kind of amazing. Today, one of the bad experiences was they got into a fight because this one girl wanted more. She needs a lot of money right now. Apparently, she was really mad that this girl wouldn't give her tables. So there was 9 people working, and there was 6 people in the restaurant. And you would have thought that like 600 people were in the restaurant by how hard they were working. I genuinely was like talking to Gracie, and I was like, what is going on right now? Like, why? I still don't understand.
Wonder if they had some to-go order or something they were working on.
Something. I don't know. But it was like strange how many people were in there working, but for how little work it seemed. Like 2 of the people already had their food or tables, so 4 of the 6 people.
There's like an economics like equation called like the Chick-fil-A dilemma or something like that, where it's like there is a certain threshold of how many workers is too much for now things go from like, oh, we have enough people to be efficient to now we have too many people and it's inefficient.
People are stepping on each other's toes.
So that could be what happened.
It's probably definitely what happened, because there's a lot of people just walking around. Like, there's a girl in front of us, and we were just trying to get butter. They brought us her waffles and didn't bring us butter and syrup, and we're like, what? And there's a girl who was like literally from me, maybe even closer than me and you. She was doing dishes. We sat at the bar. She's doing dishes right in front of us. And we were like, excuse me. Absolutely nothing. And then we had to wait for the other girl. She was like mopping on the other side of the restaurant. We were like, whatever.
They're robots.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah,
NPCs.
I will say, yeah, robots are, that's the first place they're about to go.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but anyways, the reason that I brought that up is it has nothing to do with food. Like I'm not a chef, or I don't care about food. I just think that giving someone a like restful breakfast and good coffee is like unbelievably top notch.
Yeah,
I would say a good breakfast place might be just as good of an experience as like a really nice steakhouse.
Right.
I was gonna say Helen.
Yeah, I was gonna say my hyperfixation has been a high service cool gas station.
Interesting.
Because like
QT. The Chick-fil-A. I'm obsessed with QTs.
Low key. Like, I think about, there's like the Chevron in downtown Edgewood, Homewood.
Yeah.
That's like got burglar bars on the windows, but it's right next to like Dawson Memorial, and like everything around there is
like
super bougie. And it's like, why
bars.
is this like ratchet gas station here? I think if you go to like nice parts of town, or like some of the nice beach towns down on 30A, and you stick like a cool gas station where like you can order coffees and like get cool snacks for your kids, and they have like trendy drinks and stuff like that, I think that would be awesome.
I think that there's something to that though. I think that like lately I've been like not considering, but just thinking through like places like our barbershop is cool because the barbershop is nostalgic. Like the barbershop is one of those things that like we've had around for a long time, and there's so much nostalgia filled in that.
Yeah.
And I think like Waffle House and like diners are so cool because they have the nostalgia to it.
Yeah.
And I think that just taking pretty normal, I would say just like, I don't know what other word I would use, but just like normal things of our life that we just kind of go through, and just giving it a vibe change, or giving it like an aesthetic change.
Normal places that people have to go for their day-to-days.
I mean, I've literally thought about randomly, I was like, man, what if like there was a low light, and this is not going to be cool. What if there was like kind of like a low light, good music, kind of vibey grocery store?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I'm like, that is taking a like very normal thing, and like you're drawing people in because of the vibe alone. Like Scott at work, he's like, he doesn't even really care about the food quality of places most of the time. He just cares about the vibe. He like just cares about how he's going to experience the place, which like
I relate to that. I'll be honest.
I mean, I disagree with like, sorry, Scott, I don't disagree with you. I think vibes matter, but like
You've somehow found a
I'm
way to
not
argue
gonna.
with
I'm
Scott.
personally
He's
not.
even-
I know. I'm personally not gonna choose a place that has bad food just for good vibes. But I will say that like that place with good vibes, even if they have bad food, are gonna last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People are gonna be drawn to it, and I don't know. I just think that taking things like that and just making it a gas station and making it vibey
Yeah.
of some sort and changing one thing, giving people experience. Like there's this book called The Power of Moments. Have you heard of it?
I think I have, yeah.
No, I never.
I think it's on my Goodreads list.
There's
I
a
haven't
book
read
called
it
The
yet.
Power of Moments that like it basically just describes how one little experience, whether it be like a business or, you know, just somewhere random hotel, can really draw you back to it and like it's worth it. And so I think that was one thing that like when I was thinking through Zephyr, I was like trying to find like what is going to be our moment that like people are like, this is why I come here. And I think every business should have that. And I don't know what it is.
I can tell you right now what it is.
What is it?
At Zephyr. It's for sure the hot shave on the neck with the
Hot towel. Yeah. The hot towel was the thing that I was like, this is going to be the thing that I want to be considered our moment. For kids that come to the barbershop, it's probably the Coke.
Right.
Yeah.
You know? But the power of moments, like when you go to like, I think it's like a DoubleTree maybe. That,
Oh,
like,
the cookies?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But I'm
Those
like,
are
if
so
I'm deciding
good.
between multiple hotels at like the same price range, I'm probably going to go for the DoubleTree. There's a hotel like or I think it's a motel in LA somewhere that is it's a 5-star motel. It's a trashy motel, I believe. But at their pool, they have a little phone. You can pick up the phone and say, I want 4 ice pops, please. And
they'll
someone
bring-
will be bringing you ice pops.
Wow.
And like it's something like that people catch on to.
is
Right.
awesome.
And it's kind of made me think about other businesses that I visit and like what's the thing that
Yeah.
And Chick-fil-A is my pleasure.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You know? Like so there's Dairy Queen is the turning of the
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it just
I
it's made
really
me start
like
to
that.
think about,
I like that a lot.
What's the moment if
You
you're
know,
trying to create
it's
a place?
crazy too that I had an experience. Me and Gracie were in Maryland for Thanksgiving, or for the weekend before Thanksgiving, because her brother and sister-in-law, sister and brother-in-law live there. And we were talking about it. Like, we went to this Mexican restaurant called like Sevilla or something like that. It was like freaking cool. Like it was the coolest restaurant ever. Amazing interior and exterior design, and the food was like super yummy. But our server, like everyone we interacted with that was an employee of the restaurant, was just like, it was almost as if they were like you ever seen like the Jimmy Fallon, Will Ferrell like SNL skit where they're like at the pretentious clothing store? Essentially they're just like, you can go shop at Gimbals. Like they like tell people to leave the store because their
That's an
store
Elf
is
quote,
so.
by the way.
Oh yeah, like you can leave the store because like your businesses will be better somewhere else. So that was literally the vibe that the server had. And Gracie and I were like, we get that it's Maryland and like the Northeast people are mean, but like just in general, like if you want to win a Michelin star, which is like an across the board standard, like not like you have to show Southern hospitality, but like just hospitality in general, you need to be kind if you are. And you need to go like above and beyond. So anyways, we were sitting there and Gracie's mom was like, obviously like Gracie's mom is not their typical person who's like in there, who's like into reading. Like their menu had like, it was a like Mexican place. And their menu had like unnecessarily way too much Spanish on it. If you know, like they called their quesadillas Chihuahua quesadillas because Chihuahua is the name brand of the Mexican imported cheese that they put on it. I'm like, you could have just said cheese. Like you didn't have to put Chihuahua. But anyways, it was just a random thing. But anyways, Gracie's mom was in there and she was like, so do y'all have anything like fajitas? Which is like obviously such a like a funny thing to say at like such a nice restaurant, like or such like a not like rice and beans Mexican place. And the guy was just like, no, can I get some drink started for anybody else? Like literally that fast, was just like away from it instead of like coming down to her level. And Gracie and I were just like talked about it for the rest of the night. We were just like, no, like, just like so
That's crazy.
annoying. And I'm like, I just don't understand. Like if you're going to work in the service industry, that guy seemed like the only reason he had a job there is because he needed money.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't understand that. So anyways, I guess out of that natural segue, like, why do you care about that? Because you could make arguably the same amount of money and not do stuff like that. So like, why did you want to have those moments?
It's called the service industry. Like
Yeah.
it's, restaurants, barbershops, salons, nail places, like these, hotels too, like where your business is meant to serve people.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, that is my job. Like, is how can I best serve these people that are coming into our business? And I think every business should feel that way. And I do think, at the end of the day, yeah, we have to make money, right? And that's why I care.
Yeah.
It's like if I think in my head, I'm like, how would I want to be treated? A lot of times, like Zoomies. I love going to Zoomies. You ever been to a Zoomies?
Yeah.
I love going to Zoomies in the mall. Anytime I was at the mall, I would stop at a Zoomies, simply because when you walk in, you know that you're going to be greeted immediately by some really hyper guy with a backpack on. And I don't know what it is. And like, maybe sometimes I'd walk in there, I don't really want to talk to anybody, but it's like, there's just this interaction. I don't know. I feel like when someone is kind to you and someone is friendly to you, I think it does something into us psychologically where it's like, this place, like I'm like dropping a pin here.
Yeah.
Like I want to come back.
That is super interesting. I think that there is something to say about that too. Cause I think about the places that I enjoy this so much. And I don't know really why, because whenever I got to college, cafes like really intimidated me, because coffee is like gatekeeping culture, and coffee was like such a thing for so long. And but I couldn't really tell you why, but some point sophomore year, I like really fell in love with just like sitting at cafes. And I think cafes are one of those places where just in general, when you sit in and have that like coffee experience that hits, like you're talking about, like the moment, at least for me, it kind of caused me to start considering like comparing the different experiences that I've had. And that is like an addiction that I have not been able to budge like at all. Like I go to any city that I go to, I will go to a cafe and I will sit and compare and like consider everything that they're doing and the differences and all, like everything in between. And I literally will go, out of my way to go to good cafes whenever I'm in a city if I remember one. And literally, I quite literally work at a church. And so I think about it all the time with ministries as well. Like, it is crazy. Like, me and Gracie are going to New York next week. And we are so excited to go to Oaks Church in Brooklyn. Because whenever we went there, there was like a girl who came up to us and was just like, hey, like, I really like y'all's outfits. And we were like, oh my gosh, thanks. Like, do you live here? Yada, yada, yada. We told her we were just visiting and she thought it was cool. But she like still just sat there, and then we just chatted for a long time about what it was like to live in New York and whatever. She was like 22 and like was there like she lived alone and was from Ohio. And anyway, so we just chatted for a while, and then the guy gets up there to like start the service, and like he's up there for kind of a minute, and we're like wrapping up what we were saying to her, and she was just like, I'm so sorry, guys, like I have to go. And we were like, oh yeah, like you're good. Thinking that she was just going to like go to her seat and sit because the service was starting. She was leading worship at the church, but she just like had sat there in this like non-pretentious way, where I've been to like other churches where there's like a green room in the depths of the building where like that's where the worship leader and the guitarist and the pastor are. They don't interact with like the people at all. But like this church literally was, it looked like Sidetrack. It was so beautiful. It looked like Zephyr or something like that. Like you could tell everything was handmade. And anyways, the people like were awesome. And but anyways, we're going to New York next week, and one of the things we're most excited to do in New York City with like endless possibilities in entertainment. We're so excited to go back to this church, and it's just funny that that's what's stuck in our mind. But anyways, Moments is like such a big deal. That is such a cool perspective. Like I was talking to the Carnleys the other day, and they made it a point, and I'm interested to hear like what your experience was like, because Carnley literally was on this podcast like 3 episodes ago or something, and we talked about this. But he was essentially saying, like, if you start with your why, then if the money doesn't come through, then, like, you'll still keep going. But if you start with the finances, when the money stops going through, like, you just pack up and leave. So did you explore that type of stuff with Carnley, like, whenever you were doing the graphic design thing? Or when did you kind of make that ethos about Zephyr?
And for context, Josh Carnley did the design for all of Zephyr's branding.
Yeah, they did all our branding. They even... So So what happened with the Carnleys was, I was at first I was going to open up a Greasy Hands in Birmingham.
That's right. I forgot about that.
So that was the goal.
And what is Greasy Hands?
Greasy Hands is, started in Florence, then they opened up in Tuscaloosa, and that's where I worked. And we were always wanting one in Birmingham, but in Birmingham you have to have a license in Jefferson County for 2 years before you can be eligible to own a shop. And so...
Yeah, I forgot about that.
And so basically my goal, I'm just going to go to Birmingham. I'm going to, Abby's there already. So I'm going to go to school, hold this license for 2 years, and then I'll open up Greasy Hands. And I got to a point where I was like, I think I want... And I think this is what I was talking about earlier, just like wanting to create something. And so love Greasy Hands. I think it's such a great brand. But I was like, I want to create something that is new, that is like special to Birmingham, that I really feel like I could have some sort of like, it feels like something that I've done.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was just like selfish or like I said, wanting like significance or whatever, but regardless, that's what I decided. And so I told Austin at Greasy Hands, owner of Greasy Hands, that's what I was going to do. And long story short, I realized like financially it was just going to be too big of a hill to climb. And so I reached back out to Austin and asked if he wanted to partner with me on on a new brand. I didn't know it was Zephyr at that point. That was Birmingham. I kind of pitched that at him, and he was like, let's do it. And so Austin also owns Zephyr with me, but I'd already started the conversation with the Carnleys, just talking through like, hey, I'm wanting to do a barbershop. It's Birmingham. I want it to feel like it's like Birmingham is home. I don't know if I necessarily want something that is like gonna have like Birmingham ties in the name or anything like that necessarily. I'm like down to explore that, but I'd for sure just like, this is the vibe that I want it to be. Like I want it to kind of have this Southwest, almost California, very chill, a lot of like, I think like greens maybe, but like more like Southwest, like browns and greens maybe. And I don't even know if I said colors. I think I just said that vibe. And so, and one of the things that they probably still do is help with naming. And I didn't have a name. At that point, I was like, maybe I'll call it Kellen's. I don't know. Like,
naming is also hard.
Yeah, like
it's kind of, you just pick something. It's like,
it's so difficult.
Did we think word of mouth is like the coolest name ever? We're like, no, we just like, I don't know. I think originally we said we were gonna try and only do word of mouth marketing. Yeah. And then we kind of decided to do social media. It was
originally supposed to be the Curiosity Plague. Or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But naming is hard. So that's really cool that they actually do that.
And they're so good. Like, I don't think people really, that was my first experience, like experiencing like people in that world that like are just straight up just talented. You know what I'm saying? And so like I like spit my vision, for the shop. And then I was already kind of working alongside David Baker Architects on like design a little bit, but I think David Baker also kind of, they needed a little bit more to go off of.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of at the same time just trying to balance those two things. Then Austin came on board, and he kind of caught up. And then we just had this, we met one time. Like we're ready for a naming presentation. They gave me, I think, 5 different names to choose from. And then they each one they explained why they like chose that one. Maybe like goods and bads of them. What could be, and then I think in that also like gave color palette. And then once we figured out name, I think they went back to quite literally the drawing board, and then they did an actual branding
That's
design.
funny, drawing board.
And so just but watching, talking to them through that, them asking questions, kind of trying to get to the depth of what I'm wanting to make, what I'm wanting to create. And, I think that as they've rebranded to Matey, they've focused on location-based.
Yeah. Destination
based places. And I think
that's such a beautiful way of explaining what we're talking about too with the moments. Yeah.
Because if Zephyr, what it looks like right now, think about if it was just called Birmingham Barber Co. and the color scheme was black, and I had just black chairs in there, and it's just even if it had
honestly
it looked exactly the same.
No sky. If you just take the skylight out, it just gets exceptionally worse too.
Well, think about if the space itself looks exactly the same. It was called Birmingham Barber Co. and it was just black and white color scheme.
Yeah.
It's just way different.
Yeah.
It's also crazy too. That's actually fast. Wait, sorry. Before I move on, I want to ask this. Can you say any of the other names, or is that breaking violation with them? I'm curious what they came up with.
There was, so the space that Zephyr's in at one point was a chicken. I don't know if I'd call it a slaughterhouse, but it was a
butcher kind of thing.
There was chickens.
Something like that.
Yeah, some sort of chicken. I don't know if it was processing or what.
Yeah.
Which actually, John, his uncle or his grandfather used to work there.
No, wow.
When it was that.
That's crazy.
He literally has a pencil that has the address of our building.
Wow.
Do you know? Have you ever watched The Intern? It's
Yeah.
a movie with Anne Hathaway and what's that guy's name? The really famous guy that's in it.
Yeah. Robert De Niro.
Yeah, Robert De Niro.
I think
He's 80 and has a kid right now. Robert De Niro.
Oh wow. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Just had a
But
new kid.
anyways, Robert De Niro he's a 85-year-old retirement intern at this place, and at the end of the movie, they the punchline is it's a new startup. Interesting. But it's a new startup, but she leaves, or he somehow she figures out that he worked there whenever it was the newspaper building factory before it was her new startup website. And the reason he interned there is because he worked there for 40 years. And it was this crazy moment in the movie. So anyways, it's great movie, Intern. There's your plug. But
and there's the whole story, so you don't have to watch it. But
yeah. But they were going to call it something about that. Bantam?
Which is a baby, what is a bantam? Male chicken?
I don't know anything about chickens.
That's pretty cool.
But
I don't know if you looked at me thinking that I know about chickens, I don't know about chickens.
You guys are from Alabama, so maybe
I'm from Mississippi. Okay,
so you should definitely know about chickens.
But Bantam Barber would have been would have been one of them, and because one of the pitfalls of that was I don't like boxing, I'm not a boxing fan, and they were hey bantamweight is a very popular weight class in boxing, and so people are going to be asking that question. And in my head, I was no, this is I love the name. I love the it's called alliteration, Bantam Barber.
Yeah.
But
he looked at you.
I wasn't
going to
do it.
You're yeah, not for chickens.
I know vocabulary. I don't know chickens.
So that was one of them.
Wow. That's pretty cool. Honestly, they're so freaking brilliant.
Awesome.
It's actually insane how brilliant they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure.
Okay, and the other thing I was going to talk about a second ago, I've been in Birmingham my whole freaking life, and you've been here for quite a while. How many years now? 7 years? 8 years?
Birmingham?
Yeah.
Almost 6.
6. Wow. Okay, I overshot that.
2019.
And you went to UNA, so I'm sure you were like familiar, like throughout college too. But like, I mean, I've been in Birmingham my whole life, and June, Zephyr, Last Call, David Baker Architects, and then whatever the name of it. Lock. Yeah, that's like a construction firm or something.
General contractor.
Like that has nothing that cool has ever existed in Birmingham in the history of Birmingham.
Actually, Locke, I mean, I've never been in there, but if you look through the window, they have like cool art on the walls and stuff. Yeah, it's kind of like unexpected for a general contractor. How cool their office is.
Like, it's crazy to me that, you know, you're playing, and then also Jimmy, like, it's also wild too, because like Jimmy and you waited so long. Well, I mean, you said it was 3 years, which in the grand scheme of things isn't that long, but that's a long time to wait to open up a business. Jimmy's the same way. Like, Jimmy has been working in coffee in Birmingham for literally forever. And
probably since he was in middle school.
Yeah, probably since right after he got off the Domino's
11
job.
years old.
Was it Domino's or Pizza Hut that he said he worked at?
I think it was Pizza Hut.
Yeah,
and he worked
or Papa John. It was Papa John.
It was Papa John's. That's what it was.
And he worked at Captain D's.
Did he really?
Yeah, he didn't share that in the podcast.
No, he didn't tell us that.
That's hilarious.
He said Pizza Hut or Papa John's or whatever, and he played Xbox a lot.
Yeah, he said Pizza Hut was his favorite job of all time.
Yeah.
He hates his job now in comparison to Pizza Hut.
Yeah,
dude, I think my favorite job of all time was working drive-through at Starbucks.
Really?
I tell people all the time when I retire of some I just want to go work drive-through at Starbucks.
That's so funny.
I would die if I saw like an old dude as the Starbucks guy.
Thank you for choosing Starbucks. What can we get started for you?
Man, you've already got it dialed.
I mean,
dude, what can we get started for you? I mean, I used to go, thank you for choosing Starbucks, or it was, thank you for chewing Starburst. What can we get started for you? I would die laughing when people wouldn't catch on.
I would try. The funny thing is, people,
Starbucks?
it's like a robotic response for people.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, can I get a coconut cream cold brew, whatever." But when I worked at
coconut cream?
yeah, venti. When I worked at Revelator,
Did you have whipped cream with that?
yeah, I would try and change it up like that and be silly about it. I'd be like, "What can I do you for?" And they're like, "Huh? Like, you didn't ask me like what can I make for you or something?"
Yeah.
When they don't hear the expected question, then they malfunction. That's kind of funny.
Whenever I worked at it's just so Whenever I worked at Black and White in North Carolina, I was like kind of out in like a suburb where definitely people don't necessarily understand that
Coffee
why
nerd.
someone would even care to make that funny, you know? And people walk in, I would just be like, "Sup?" Like genuinely wanting to have a conversation with them, and it wasn't like this like transaction essentially, and they were like wildly thrown off doing it. I'm like every single time. It was very funny. Oh man. But anyway, so this place is like insane that opened up, like this building. Like what, I guess like so many other people just don't get it that lucky, like don't get that lucky to have this like opportunity to open up in a space like that with David Baker, who's like unreal.
Well, the reason this all happened is because like Amanda and Kyle. Amanda, who's the principal, David Baker, Amanda Loper, and Kyle Tyree, who's the owner of Lock General Contractors. They bought this building. Yeah. And, you know, Amanda and Brandon had moved back from San Francisco years ago. Uh-huh. And I think she probably just saw potential in having a really cool, well-designed space. Yeah. So when they bought the building, I think that they just did a really good job of, you know, I'm saying this from my perspective of like, they chose us. But like, I remember when I approached her about a barbershop because I saw Jimmy was going to do the coffee shop there, and there was 2 more open spaces. And I approached Amanda about if a barbershop would be something that they would be interested in having. Yeah. And she was like, she literally said like a barbershop is like honestly one of my like dream like clients to have. Wow. And that's so sick. And again, it's just like, I think she saw the potential of a really cool, well-designed coffee shop, barbershop, and then bakery. And so I think like I give all the credits to them. Because they could have literally just had like white box a building that looks like a strip mall, and then just like put some of us in there, and then just like made the revenue and like kept going.
Yeah.
But like they intentionally designed each of those spaces.
Yeah, it's actually unreal how beautiful those spaces are. I think it's exceptionally impressive. That book that I read of yours they wrote. Do you remember the name of it? Like
9 Ways?
Yeah, 9 Ways. These guys that own this architecture firm or whatever you want to call it in Birmingham.
They're based in San Francisco.
Yeah, based in San Francisco, and she's like an award-winning, like, and her husband's friggin' cool. But anyways, awesome.
We'll get them on the podcast.
Yeah, one day
we'll get them.
We'll get them on. But anyways, they're like beautiful designers, and they wrote this book called 9 Ways, and it just talks about how America lives in this like kind of toxic cycle of never doing anything creative with their homes or their spaces because they don't want to ruin resale value, and how the lie, or not the lie, I guess it's the truth of resale value kind of just like destroys how beautiful your space could be. I guess that's the premise of what it is. And yeah, I remember like one of the lines in the book was like, if you want yellow walls, paint your walls yellow. Like, don't worry about resale value. Like, you can repaint them one day or something like that. And or if your family needs 3 bedrooms, then like build a 3rd bedroom. Like, don't worry about. Or if your family only needs 1 bedroom, like take out a bedroom, like stuff like that. And I think it's like so cool how they just refuse to do like the money making thing. Like, I think it's so interesting. I'm going to try and connect this really quickly, but the whole idea with like I don't know, this is kind of a hot topic thing. I don't really have a formed opinion on this, but the gender pay gap, I think it's so interesting why, like, I understand in a situation where like a man and a woman are doing the same job and the man's getting paid like more, like that is inherently sexist. But one of the ways that conversation kind of gets taken a little too far for me is whenever people just associate a higher amount of income with a higher amount of worth for a human being. Because I just like deeply disagree with the fact that if you make a lot of money, that means that you are you have a higher value or like worth as a human being. I just don't agree with that. So in the same way, I feel like people associate like, oh, I can make more money if I cut costs here, therefore my endeavor is best. And I just like don't agree with that at all. I think that kind of back to what we were talking about way earlier about like how, whenever you're doing something, you should be asking not the question of like, how can I be the most efficient or how can I be the most profitable, but does this align with the impact I want to make on the world? And so anyways, I think it's like so beautiful the way that like the Lopers with David Baker do this like insanely like cool thing of like taking spaces and making them beautiful instead of taking spaces and making them profitable. And I imagine that was like probably an unbelievably good experience. So whenever you did interact with them and they were like, barbers are our dream space, they're also like, I don't know exactly how much you want to talk about this, but they're also like top dollar designers. Like they're very like, they're not luxury, but they kind of have that aura to them. So what was it like you not being this like hedge fund kid or something like that?
I mean, at that time I was 27, Jimmy was 27, and Hannah was 26.
Oh, wow. Like
none of us were, like this was all our first. And so I think all of us were at a point where we were like, how can we achieve what we're, searching for without breaking the bank?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's another, that was something that they ran with.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, when we first were talking about Zephyr, I think, like, the initial design plans, like, they wanted to do some, like, really awesome, like, Spanish tile along the plumbing wall by the mirrors.
Yeah. They do a lot of, like, really cool tile and brickwork.
So
yeah, they do.
And I was like, that would be amazing. I can't afford that. Like, I just can't. And so what can we do that's going to be cheapest and most beautiful and done well. And it was like,
Plywood.
let's do the CDX plywood.
Yeah.
And we can put like a matte sealant on it.
Yeah.
And that like kind of partnered with the mirrors.
Yeah.
Is just gonna like give some balance and then make our like the skylight and like the barbershops kind of like the focal point when you walk into the shop.
Yeah.
Because the chairs itself are probably like the thing that I like didn't want to budge on as far as like I wanted to like just buy really pretty chairs.
Yeah. Are those brand new or are those vintage?
They were new.
Wow. Because they still have the cigarette thing in them, so I didn't know if they were like old.
Well, they had a little thing I think you could. That little cigarette thing, I think, is where you could attach a cigarette, like
I see.
Ashtray.
I guess, like, also, I don't know. Do people still smoke, or is it just not allowed with like code to have cigarettes, or do barbershops still have cigarettes inside?
No, I don't think you can smoke anywhere inside.
Yeah, I didn't think so either. Also, why did you get rid of the plants in the skylight? I noticed that last time I was there.
Because I didn't want to get up there anymore in water. I was trying to get rid of the ladder, and I eventually did. I was trying to get rid of the ladder because it was just taking up space.
Yeah.
And so I knew that like I had to get the plants down. And the plants up there were just like they were getting fried.
Yeah.
And when I pulled them down, I think I only have like a few left that like
they just killed it all.
They were all
so
just
much sunlight.
Like where you can't if you're down below you can't see. But like there was like you can see some of the nice ones that are hanging around the side of the planter, but like when I pulled them down, like it's just dirt. Like,
I was gonna say you probably if you're gonna have that much direct sunlight, you need cacti, but then cacti don't hang down and do like the cool thing that you were wanting them to. So
yeah, well the cacti. At first we put some plants up there that weren't any in the cacti family, and those were just dead.
Yeah,
and then we replaced them with ones that
that
are kind of in that cacti.
Do y'all still have that huge cactus y'all got at that like?
No, it's gone.
What happened to it?
We got rid of it. It got mealybugs.
What is that?
You ever seen the little white bugs on plants?
Those
are called mealybugs, and they just like
destroy the plant.
Like I think they just like eat the plant.
Dude, that's a bummer. Yeah, that
stinks.
cactus was freaking beautiful. You had it was huge. The one that you had in your apartment, and
yeah,
dude, that place is cool too. Yeah, but anyways, I think that is literally so cool that they were able to work with you in that. I think CDX plywood is the most beautiful raw product on earth. And I am very. I'm interested if I'll think that's cringe about myself one day. I think that's like the thing that I'm the most nervous to be like, man, I had way too much plywood in my house. Like maybe one day I'll hate it, but I don't know though. I think wood is so pretty. But
I'm thinking about what you're talking about with cost cutting, Steven, because like we talked about this with Josh Carnley about how like profit and making money is like the water and the food of a business. Like you have to have it to survive. But if that's the purpose of the business, then it's typically not going to be like the best business because, like we're talking about, I think the purpose of a business should be to serve people and like add value to the world. So I think I'm just kind of thinking through this out loud mostly, but adding value for cheap or
that's like counterproductive.
Well,
right?
I think I don't know. I'm just trying to think about like cost cutting can be a good thing because sometimes you have waste and you have excess and you need to increase the efficiency in your business. But if you cost cut and then decrease value, then it's probably not worth cost cutting.
Yeah, but I think it depends on what you're decreasing value on and
right.
what you can replace, like what your replacement is gonna like, you know, like an example for us was like when I first opened Zephyr.
You're fine.
When I first opened Zephyr, I had Le Labo hand soap in the bathroom.
I remember that.
And it was great. But I realized very quickly, hand soap goes by quick. And I can't do Le Labo hand soap anymore. Because we don't charge $200 a haircut. But stuff like that, like but I replaced it with the first-hand supply, which is what we were already getting for our shampoo. And I like it equally. Good. I mean, and
That is one thing, bro. I'm gonna call out Jimmy real quick. Specifically, he works at Captain D, so he can take it. But Jimmy did the same thing. Jimmy did rainwater, Miss Myers for a long time, and then that was what he did.
They have Cintas though,
and now they don't do it anymore. They do like the genuinely
thing.
No. They have this. It's still in that like very fancy bottle that Silverstone like stoneware did, but it is like the cheap airport orange soap that I think smells like actual butt cheeks, and it's like such a bummer.
But it's probably part of their contract with Cintas. That's the thing. It's like, I hear you, but I'm also like I don't know if. Sorry, I'm not trying to like argue against what you're saying because
I like the pushback. You're a business owner. I'm not.
Well, because I agree with what you're saying as far as like, and I was where I was going to go with that too is like if push comes to shove, I'm going to like keep the same container and put a different soap in it.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it's going to be cheaper. I mean, as long as it smells okay, and maybe that's the problem. If like that orangey stuff still smelled good, you wouldn't really be thinking about that.
Yeah.
Nor is it going to deter you from going to June.
Right.
Their hand soap with their bathroom.
No, I'm just not going to wash my hands whenever I poop. So.
Or that. I'll just say like that's one of those things where like Cintas I think is.
Mm-hmm. I think it's interesting too. Another thing I was thinking about, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, Myers, if it goes with what you're talking about, is June runs out of stuff all the time. I love June. I think June's amazing. And I was just like, man, like Sidetrack never runs out of anything. And but obviously I don't know the volume difference or anything like that. But Cafe Elliott, who I also think is like a perfect cafe, they run out of stuff. They sell out and they just close. And I was like trying to figure out. I was like, is it good? Like, is it okay to get frustrated? I mean, I'm not ever going to get frustrated if somebody reads anything. But is it okay, like I'm thinking about for just some random Amanda that comes into June at 2:00 after a Saturday morning rush? Is it okay for her to get upset that they're out of whatever it is? Or is that just like inherently annoying? And I was like trying to figure out what is.
I think it depends on the way that you communicate that to your customers and whether or not, like some people do that on purpose. Like Supreme sells out of all their T-shirts on purpose because they want to increase demand and they want demand to stay high so that it's like it's a limited edition thing. You have to like get on the website and you have to buy things right away or else you don't get it. And like Elliot, it's like we're gonna sell these until we're gonna sell French toast on Saturday morning until we sell out.
Yeah.
Like if you say that, then people know like, oh, I might show up and they might be out of French toast at 10 a.m. because they've been open for 3 hours. So I think it kind of depends because like Revelator would run out of stuff, but it was like because they didn't pay the milk company, so then the milk company didn't bring their next shipment of milk.
Yeah.
Like that is bad business, but you can do it in a way that's like it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
Depending on how you communicate it to your customers. And you can also like if it's an accident, just say it's an accident and own up to it. Don't like try and fudge your way through it. So I think it just depends on the way that you communicate it to people.
The other day, Gracie's friend at work was like went to Starbucks. And this is obviously a very different experience because Starbucks is corporately owned, and I think it's a public company, and so it's not the same. But anyways, she was so excited. It was the first day that the Christmas cups came out, so I guess it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. She goes down. There's a Starbucks in the UAB. And Gracie works at UAB as a nurse, and anyways, they go to the nurse at Starbucks, and she's like, "Hey, can I get a peppermint mocha or whatever she gets, grande?" And then their Christmas cups had came in tall and in venti, but they hadn't come in grande. She got the cup and she was like so mad. So she was like, "Hey, can you remake this in a tall or a venti?" And they're like, "I'm sorry, like no." And then also her her friend was with her and she had gotten a drink in a grande as well. They hadn't made it yet. And they were like, "Hey, can you just make this in a tall or a venti?" And they were like, "No, I'm sorry." And the second part, I was like pretty annoyed by. But I was like, is it okay to get it? Like, where in the line, like, is it okay to just be like the customer's always right? And then also, because Because that is something that I felt like, that's like one of those lies. It's kind of like, whenever your parents would get mad at you for having the light on in the backseat because they couldn't see in the car. Like, that's just a straight up, that just doesn't bother people. I don't know why my parents got so mad. It's like one of these lies that you're told whenever you grow up and you don't figure out till you're an adult. Like, especially the one where the customer's always right. Like, I've never been treated that way anywhere I've ever gone. Like, people get mad at me anytime that I ask for anything at a restaurant because they just want like path of least resistance. Like, they're trying to have a work day unbothered, which I totally understand. But I don't know. I wonder, like, where do you draw the line? Like, as a barber, I imagine, like, or is it a regular thing for people to be like, hey, can you actually do like this a little different?
Yeah, I guess, how do you deal with unhappy customers?
Yeah. Has anybody ever asked you for like a refund because the haircut's bad or something like that? I don't know.
I think the customer is always right. Like, is one of those things that, like, I feel like in our world is probably I think in any world, it's a debate.
Yeah.
I think it's a spectrum, because I think the customer is always right in that it's like, in my world, I'm like, look, it's their hair.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, this isn't my haircut. Like, this is their haircut. And so, yes, I'm not going to just like buzz someone's head because I think they would look good with a buzz cut.
Yeah.
And so there's a balance of that, and like, hey, like, this is what you asked for. Can I make a recommendation of like maybe why I don't think this would look good on your haircut, and like explain to you why?
Mm-hmm.
And if they're like, oh, yeah, but I think I'm just going to do it anyways. At that point, for me, like, I guess that would be the equivalent of like, the customer is always right. I'm like, sure, I'm going to do what you want. At the end of the day, I'm going to give you the haircut that you desire.
Yeah.
Whether I like that haircut or not.
Yeah.
But my job is to steer you, and like, hopefully this is more of a collaborative thing. And like, yeah, I do have experiences of people like, hey, like, actually, can you do this a little differently?
Mm-hmm.
Even though like I did it the way that I think might look best, I'm gonna be like, absolutely. It's service. I'm there to serve them. Like, I either say no, I'm sorry, like, this is how it's done, and I lose a potential client.
Yeah.
Or I say, yeah, sure, and then I swallow my pride and I continue to have revenue, from that person. And so it's like, I think coffee shops can be the most popular place where stuff like that is a lot more prevalent.
Yeah.
To where like the coffee cup thing, like, I've worked at Starbucks during that season. I know what they can and can't do. And in that situation, I'm like, hey, like, I'm not going to remake your drink in this cup, but can I just like give you a cup, and maybe then I can, like, you can have a tall cup and you can just pour. That point, like, that's where the service comes in. That's where the customer service. Instead of just being like, no, sorry.
It's also like, from the company perspective, you need to give your employees enough freedom to be able to do that. Because that person might have said no because like their manager would chew them out if they found out they gave away a cup. Yeah. Even though a cup costs like 10 cents or
but
something.
It wouldn't matter.
Yeah, it wouldn't matter because it's like the principle of it.
Well, and Starbucks has a customer's always right kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, the amount of times, like, Starbucks customer service most of the time, pretty solid.
I would say the same thing. Yeah.
It's like, most of the time, it's like the person on the other side of the
It's actually crazy to me.
Drive-through, like the person on drive-through, the person at the front, like they're engaging, they're smiley most of the time. Yeah. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're not in a good mood. Like, but the amount of times when I was working there that like I would see a person that I'm working with, like I know that customer's wrong. They know that customer's wrong, and they're like, and their response is, "Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I'll do that," and then they walk away and they turn on their microphone and like, this mother effer. Because it's like, but that's again, it comes down to like, this is a customer service job.
Yeah,
I think it's so interesting the amount of modifications that people do to Starbucks drinks. Man, it's really interesting. My wife is one of them. And she likes her oat milkshake and espresso, or it's some drink like that. She likes it this certain way with this certain cold foam and this certain amount of pumps and whatever. And anytime that I honestly feel a lot of conviction about this whenever they do handle it well, because every once in a while we will go in through a drive-through and we'll have to say it out loud, like half pump, oat milk, whatever, light foam, all that crap. And they're just like so chill punching it in the screen. And they're really good at it too, honestly. They like do it and they're just like, all right, cool. Like anything else? And I'm like, because if I was at a cafe and if I got like more than 2 modifications on a drink, I was like, why are you even here? Like, just go make your own coffee. But that always bothered me about myself, not about them, because I was like, why? Like, they're here, like they're coming to like spend money on something they definitely could make at home, and like I have a chance to interact with them. Like, why am I so? Why? Like, I never understood like why that frustrated me so much. But Starbucks customer service is unbelievably good.
Well, with the modification thing, like the baristas themselves are always trying out new things themselves, and so they are very particular with like their own drinks.
Yeah,
and so they get it. Like they're like, oh, I actually like my sister had been working at Starbucks for a while, and recently I was asking her about how they do their vanilla sweet cream, and she was telling me, but then she was talking about this drink she's been doing lately. And like it's like half pump of this, like full pump of this, and two pumps of this, and like, you know, half cream. And I'm like those baristas, you know, when I was there, the TikTok hadn't become a thing yet.
Yeah.
But at that time, there was the Starbucks secret menu website.
Yep, I remember that.
There was
forgot about that.
The Starbucks secret menu website was this like. It wasn't like wouldn't call it a secret website, but it was a website out there that Starbucks baristas had gone on after they had created all these crazy things at their job. And they went on there and they put in how to make these certain drinks with these ingredients. Yeah. And then people would come to the Starbucks, and what we were told was like, hey, if someone comes to your drive-thru or to the up and orders a secret menu item, tell them we actually don't have that on our menu, but that sounds like a secret menu item. Do you by chance have the recipe on hand? Then if they can tell us the recipe, instead of being like, oh, can I come and get a Starbucks? Can I get the butter? What's the butterbeer frappuccino? I'm like, hey bud, I don't know what a butterbeer frappuccino is, but if you had the recipe, I can for sure like try and make that work. Yeah. And they're like, okay, it's right here. It's like 2 pumps of hazelnut, 2 pumps of toffee nut. You know, it's like strawberries and cream. It's like I can sit there and press those buttons. Yeah. And then it comes out, and like at that point it's different. Like sure. But the big old like craze with like modifications at Starbucks. Yeah. Was because of their own baristas. Yeah. They were the ones that were messing around with their like ingredients recipes and putting it out on the internet for the general public to see. So they can't complain about that. Right.
I got a brief taste of that. I honestly kind of hated on Starbucks for a really long time, and I'm trying to get Myers. Myers had his first peppermint mocha the other day, and he said, I understand why you get these things.
Those are year-round, by the way.
They told me that the other day. I was blown away.
Really? They always have peppermint.
Yeah, they don't have peppermint mocha on the screen, but they have peppermint and mocha. So you just get mochas.
Yeah, with people don't know that peppermint syrup is always
because there's a peppermint tea or something like that. They always have. Different. Yeah. But anyways, they were. I was on Reddit and I was just like best Starbucks drinks, thinking that everybody was going to say the brown sugar shaken espresso. No, medicine ball tea was by far the most favorite.
That was actually a secret menu item that made it on the menu.
Wait, actually? Wow.
So that was a secret menu item that you had to know the recipe and say it and order it that way. And then eventually it was so popular that Starbucks put it on their menu called the medicine ball.
That's insane.
And I think recently they've changed it from medicine ball to something else because they can't call it medicine something. Oh, it's not like medicine.
Yeah, freaking.
And so they had to change the name to like something.
Fauci was coming for them.
Was pissed.
Right, but that was
RFK's coming to save the day.
There's been times when like those secret menu items
satire guys, sorry,
have jumped.
Dude, that actually is insane. Have you ever had medicine ball tea?
No, what is that?
It's so good. I don't know. It's like lemonade. So you say it. Starbucks employee.
It's steamed lemonade and hot water with like peach tranquility tea. I think jade citrus mint, honey. Yeah. And that might be it.
It
Wow.
had like. I don't think it actually helps you when you're sick. There's probably no way that it does.
Yeah, I
It's
was
voodoo.
gonna say.
But it has that taste where it's like, oh yeah, you could. It kind of has like a chai.
like it feels good for you.
Yeah, but the
It's
lemonade
the
has
steamed
to be,
lemonade.
Yeah,
If I'm telling you, when you guys don't feel well, just buy lemonade, put it in your what's it called?
yeah
Steam wand?
Steamer, not steamer.
Steam wand.
Steam wand.
No, what's the?
That thing on the
guess-
side of the espresso machine.
No,
that
no, not a steamer, like a
kettle.
kettle.
Oh, dude, that's actually not a bad
Put it in your
idea.
kettle and drink that with like some honey in it. I'm telling you.
Well,
it
yeah, I was gonna
opens you up.
say, yeah,
Like
like
vitamin D,
lemon
yeah.
juice and honey is like a traditional medicinal thing.
Well, what's it? The hottie toddy.
Is that what a
Uh,
hottie toddy is?
Hottie toddy is bourbon, lemon, and honey.
Oh yeah,
Oh, that sounds yummy.
Warm.
yeah. That would be like,
And that's
kind of-
that's also
It's like a
used
hot
the same
old
way.
fashioned
Yeah.
kind of.
dude. That sounds kind of yummy. But yeah, medicine ball tea is literally so goated. Like it's crazy. I was super off. But also the Starbucks online community, super like much busier than I would have anticipated. I just thought that it was like kind of a robot, like kind of like, oh, I need to go get coffee. No, that's the only place that I know exists. Let's go. Like they don't actually think about it. There's like opinionated Starbucks people out there. But it also blows my mind. Like when you're in New York, there is a Starbucks every other street. Like it is, there's no telling. I would love to know how much Starbucks rent is per month in New York, like in Manhattan alone. It would have to be like, it might be like $500 million a month or something. I don't know. I don't know how much rent in Manhattan.
Almost as much as Zephyr's rent.
Almost as much
$500
as
million a month.
Yeah, speaking of what, how much? I'm just, oh man, Kellen, hey, man, this has been a great conversation. Do you have any parting words for your fans?
No.
No parting words.
Roll Tide.
Hey, roll tide. Kellen is, like I said, owner of world-renowned Zephyr Barbershop in downtown. If you are a guy listening, please go get your haircut here. If you haven't, if you're not, you are robbing yourself of joy. Trying to think of any other plugs I have for you.
Kellen will have a podcast one day.
All right,
So
the
whenever he
podcast
does
idea.
that-
No. Just hold on to it for a little bit longer.
Well,
promise you.
I honestly. Okay.
Yeah, it'll make sense. So anyways, yeah, like really enjoyed having you on. We talked about a lot of amazing things. Talked about owning a small business. Talked about what it's like to start a small business. We talked about what it's like to have a cool space and, give out positive chakras into the world. So obviously beginning with Ephra and now
FR.
in the terms of, sorry, FR.
Yeah.
FR. And now in the likes of Zephyr Barber. Shout out Josh Carnley again. Shout out Amanda Loper. I can't wait till we have you on the podcast one day. And yeah, man. Mars, you got anything?
FR kind of is similar to Zephyr. if you think about it.
FR. It's funny when people don't know how to say Zephyr and they're talking to me when I'm cutting their hair, and they're like,
Zephyr?
It's nervous. Like they're just like, oh, so like how long have you had to Zephyr?
Sapphire.
I went to high school. One of my favorite friends in high school was this girl named Zipporah. I haven't thought about her in forever till you just said that. Zipporah. I gotta look her up on Facebook, see what she's up to these days. She was funny, man.
Thanks for coming on, Kellen, and thanks for letting
Yeah.
us film at your house.
Yeah, your house is literally beautiful. You can see us, and you can see what's behind you too. If you're
You can
watching.
see his house in
He has
the
a ginormous-
reflection.
He has a dance studio in his living room, so
Yeah,
he
usually
break
move this
dances up here.
couch out of the way and
Set out the
Yeah.
bar and just start, playing.
Whenever we got here, he was doing head spins to Michael Bublé Christmas. It was pretty sick. He was like kind of the Australia girl. Olympics Australia girl meme. Thanks so much for listening, guys. We love you so much. Merry Christmas.
Bye.
Secret segment of the podcast where we're going to talk about secret things that you can wait till right now to listen to. All right, talk to us about your secret podcast.
well,
I also want to hear raw thoughts on SMU getting into the college football playoff.
gosh. Well, podcast. I think that this conversation about our businesses and kind of like I really hope, but I think like if people listen to this that don't really know anything about Zephyr are going to be like, when they're going to June next time, they're going to walk by Zephyr and be like, I know about that place.
Yeah.
Like I know who the guy that owns this is. I know like how it started. I have more of a background of this business and this person that started it and kind of what it took to go like put into it, like why he cares a lot about it, that he cares about serving, that he cares about the moments thing. Like they're going to be more likely to like give it a shot or send someone there, you know?
For sure.
And so I think for me, like if I'm thinking about at some point doing some sort of podcast where I'm interviewing local, mostly restaurant owners.
Yeah.
I just feel like we've got such amazing restaurants in Birmingham, and restaurants, coffee shops, different places, and just kind of I want to know their story. Like I want to put their story out there and like kind of what they've like put into creating what they've created, so that people around Birmingham have a connection to that place because they have more insight of what it took for this place to become a thing.
Yeah.
And they're going to be more likely to give it a shot instead of try out, like instead of going to like like a chain place.
Sure.
And so that's my idea to like, just like I said, it's similar to like how I built this and like how it's like, I am never going to go buy Glossier for myself.
Sure.
But like, I listened to Glossier's and I was like, I want to buy Abby like all Glossier stuff.
Yeah.
Or like Outdoor Voices.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to check their men's section because
RIP now because they fricked that girl over, but
yeah.
Okay. I don't know. But like stuff like that where I'm just like, I listen to this, or it's like Abby listens a lot to the Armchair Expert, and it's like,
oh yeah,
when you like know about like a certain actor or actress or like an artist of some sort, like, or an author, like I think she's read books because she had listened to a podcast about that author.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's something really cool about having people on that are like business owners or have something that you can like point people to. Because like you're probably the most service oriented or like the lowest level of entry. I'm thinking about Griffin, like you have to pay him thousands of dollars to get photos done by him, or like Josh, you have to pay him, I'm assuming like thousands of dollars to get your graphic design. I mean, you probably do, Kellen. We're in the secret segment. Do you want to tell everybody how much Josh? I'm kidding. Or like, I don't know. I'm thinking about other people like Sam, my brother, like, I don't know, or like Josh Jones, the wedding photographer. Like there's not really very much of a thing. So I'm really excited to hear what that's like. I do know that June, like people really enjoyed that episode. Like a lot of people listened to that episode too. We need to have Tim on too. Speaking of small coffee shop owners,
we should do the coffee shop owners.
Yeah. But yeah, that's really cool. I have kind of a dream for this company called Unbiased Be Him, where it's just, I mean, it's like kind of funny because it literally would never make money, because you couldn't take ads because then that would provide bias. But I guess you'd have to have some sort of, I don't know how you would have a membership for that. Like, I don't know how you would even do that. But
I mean, it's a magazine subscription.
Yeah, I guess that if you market it as like a zine or something like that. But anyways, it's like it's essentially, we would grade every single thing, every single restaurant, coffee shop, barbershop, hotel into 3 different categories, and that is hospitality, quality of product, and vibes. So like Scott could go in there and say like, I value vibes the most, and you get like a top 10 ranking of like restaurants. So like Shoe Shop would be like number 1. Whereas you could probably get on there and be like quality of product. I don't know this, but like maybe Saigon Noodle House, even though it's like really fugly, it would be like a better product or something like that. And then, so anyways, I think that would be like so cool, and it would be so fun to like partner that with people who are being like, hey, like nobody's talking enough about freaking Ranelli's sub shop in 5 Points or something like that. But maybe their owner's a freaking chiller, and if you put a story out there, people would go crazy.
Yeah. And I think that there are so many places like, recently I went to like Pita Stop in Caba Heights?
Yeah.
And I like walked in and like everybody had, is it Greek accents?
Yeah.
And I was like, this is for sure family, because they were all like talking to each other like they're family.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, imagine if people are just people knew this story.
Yeah.
You know, like I just think it's, you know, you might catch people's stories when you're like reading, the Birmingham magazine, or you're reading all these things, but like I think that there's just something to just like kind of having like the raw story of how, you know, Chef, you know, Sean Brock or something like that, just like, you know, where he's failed.
Yeah.
And how has that affected kind of his like, you know, mental in opening up something new, or like approaching, you know, how does he approach failure? Like just stuff like that, like to where people can just really get to know the who behind their products that they're consuming locally.
Like, what if you did, like, I'm just trying to think of, like, the amount of things you could do with Unbiased Him. You could literally do, like, anonymous. You could get the coffee shop owners. You could pool them all. And you could promise that it would be anonymous. And then you could have them rank the worst coffee shops. And then you could have, like, cumulative, like, coffee shop owner ranked, like a coach's poll of the worst coffee. I for sure would read that. I'd be like, oh, frick, this is going to get juicy.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know. I'm thinking about that. Would be like really cool to have. I was thinking about the opposite of what you were doing too. Like the really cool thing. But also, if somebody was out there just doing bull crap with no story, aka freaking Luca, if you like Luca, you need to read one word about the people who opened it. That's fascinating.
Do you want to have a brief college football discussion?
Meyer sports segment.
Sure.
Okay.
Press a button to make
Kendrick Law is entering the transfer portal.
Caleb Odom.
Caleb Odom. I don't
Kendrick
freaking care
Law,
about that. But Kendrick Law, like, that's crazy.
I will say
He's
Kendrick Law entering the transfer portal, I was expecting. And good for him.
Yeah, honestly, he's kind of trash this year, so
no,
I
he
don't
wasn't.
care.
He wasn't trash.
Kendrick Law is like literally going to go make $1 billion somewhere.
He was underutilized.
That's true.
He was underutilized. He was our best blocking receiver. I mean, he wasn't where he contributed so much this year blocking.
Yeah.
That it really did make me sad how, like, the lack of opportunity he got to have the ball in his hands.
Yeah, I don't understand that. Why do you think it's just because they just threw it to Ryan Williams all the time?
I don't know.
Kellen and I are both huge Alabama football fans, but like a little bit closeted. I don't know if that makes any sense.
How are you an Alabama fan if you're from California?
You want to know the story?
Yeah.
Well, I actually hated Alabama when I first moved to Alabama.
Alabama football or Alabama State whenever you first moved here.
Oh, Alabama football mostly. Like when I first moved to Alabama 10 years ago, I was at UNA, and I had a lot of friends that were Alabama fans, and I had friends that were Auburn fans, and the Alabama fans were so obnoxious, and I was like, I have no reason to be an Alabama fan. I don't care about Alabama. I love the NFL. And I don't really have a college team because I grew up in Southern California. So, yes, as a kid, Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart were, it was prime time USC. So I rooted for USC. But, I never really grew attached to USC that much. And so when I moved to Alabama, I, really just didn't care.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Tuscaloosa. I moved to Tuscaloosa after college. And I worked there for a couple of years. And we cut coaches' hair and we cut players' hair. And at that point, you start seeing these guys outside of, the football field. You're getting to know them a little bit more. And then you're going to the games. So we would, get tickets to go to games from people, not necessarily always coaches, but, people in the programs would just, there might be a guy in the program that mostly Russell cut a lot, and Billy cut a lot of those coaches, or not coaches, those, just people in the program that would just have extra tickets. And so we would just walk after work on Saturdays. We'd walk to the games. My first year there, I went to every home game.
Wow.
And so eventually, you're like,
what year was that?
2018.
So national championship year?
that year we got smashed by Clemson.
Oh, that was the
following
42-16,
yeah.
and then we beat them
the following year we didn't make the playoff.
Oh, interesting.
And so, but I went to every home game, and then like at that point, I'm like I know some of these people like personally, and I'm starting to say we, and then it was just this like I don't know what happened, but it just
The tide rolled over you.
yeah. I mean, I mean at this point, like I'm so deep, like I'm so stupid deep in this thing now. I'm like so in depth. Like I can tell you all our recruits.
Yeah.
I can tell you who we're trying to recruit for 2026 quarterback right now.
Wow.
It's like
That's pretty deep.
I'm to a point where I'm just, but I'm a huge Chargers fan still. So it's like, the Chargers are about to start their game here in about an hour, and
Who are they
a couple
playing
hours,
today?
the Chiefs. But Alabama
Easy
football
L.
is like my dad's a huge. My whole family is Alabama fans.
Really?
Yeah, when my brother started playing football at UNA, my parents started like paying attention to Alabama football, and this was like 2011,
Yeah.
when they were just like killing it. So
Yeah.
they just started rooting for Alabama because my brother was living here, and then so since then my parents have been Alabama fans since, and then my brother married a girl that played soccer at Alabama, and so her whole family's Alabama fans.
Yeah.
And then my brother's and his kids are Alabama fans. My brother is literally the only one that is not an Alabama fan.
No way. I didn't know your brother wasn't.
He's fought against it. Because I think it's because he's just being like stubborn. Because everyone else
does he go for someone else?
He, not really, but I think that like he's been in Greenville, South Carolina for so long. I think if he was to claim anyone, it'd be Clemson. But he doesn't really pay attention.
Wow. Yeah, frustrating day.
He's the guy that's with us though, and he's silent, but he's secretly rooting for us to just
get killed.
Like, yeah.
Dude, it was so interesting today being on. This is definitely, we've lost all of our listeners by now, so I'm just.
It's a secret segment. We can talk about whatever.
But genuinely, I got on Twitter today, and I was like, dude, what are people saying about this? Looked at ESPN college football bracket reveal, scrolled down, everybody was like, this is so whack. Look at this freaking bracket. Like Boise State is going to play the winner of I don't remember exactly what it is, but it's like some teams got screwed and other teams who were just like literally terrible got in just because they got less losses. I still don't believe that logic, obviously, because I'm an Alabama fan. But it's like the SEC is so remarkably more difficult than these other teams. But anyways, everybody was agreeing with me on Twitter. Then I got on Instagram, looked at the comments on the same post that ESPN had put on Instagram. Everyone was like, Alabama's out, America wins.
Yeah,
yes.
People hate us. That's something that I've learned in the last week.
But it's like
how much people
Instagram
really
people are casuals.
sick of us.
Instagram people are casuals, and Twitter people actually know what they're talking about, though. Just in general, in fanship, that's like kind of an understanding. Is like people that actually know ball are on Twitter and Reddit, and people that are like just whatever entertainment people, they're all on Instagram. So I think it's interesting how the entertainment people are like, frick yeah, Alabama got screwed. But then the people who actually know ball is like, they're like, no.
Yeah, and I'm kind of in the camp too, and like, I think because I didn't grow up like, I'm a huge Alabama fan now, and I'll obviously always be rooting for them to make the playoff. But like, today's decision, like, I didn't walk away and think Alabama got screwed. I really didn't. Like, because the committee today had to make it. I don't know how long the sports segment is.
I don't contribute to the sports section because I don't really care. So,
Okay.
but y'all just talk because I know that you keep looking at your phone and you both want to talk about it.
Well, here's the deal. The committee today had to make a decision between, are we going to incentivize teams from playing in their conference championships?
Yeah.
Or are we going to de-incentivize teams from having a hard schedule? That's the decision that it was a lose-lose today for the committee.
Yeah.
So at today's decision, if I'm the committee, I would rather not de-incentivize people from playing in their conference championship games.
I think that's stupid. I don't agree with it, but anyways.
Yeah, I mean,
I think incentivizing people to play hard games all year long is so much better for fans than conference championships. Nobody
I
even
agree.
freaking cares about conference
I
championships.
totally agree with
And
that.
conference championships aren't about to matter at all because they're about to just build the freaking. I don't know. At least I thought they were just going to build a super league.
I agree with that. I think that you want to know what really went wrong?
What?
Was that they ranked SMU 8 last week.
Yeah.
If SMU had been ranked accordingly, let's say they just ranked them at 12,
Yeah.
and then they had lost, they wouldn't be there would have been no brainer that Alabama's in today.
Yeah. Who is SMU playing? Aren't they playing like
Penn State at Penn State.
Yeah.
What you were talking about earlier was like Texas. Texas plays against Clemson.
Yeah.
Clemson goes to play in Texas, and then if Texas wins, they play Boise State.
Yeah.
It's just almost a free ride to the Final Four.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to me. Does that mean?
But Oregon, sorry, that's the 6 seed, 5 seed.
But does that mean Texas has to play at Boise State?
No, it's a neutral field.
Oh, okay.
But Oregon is the number 1 seed. This is another gripe. Oregon is the number 1 seed.
Mm-hmm.
In the quarterfinals, they're going to play the winner of Ohio State and Tennessee.
Yeah.
While Texas, the 5 seed, has to play Boise State if they beat Clemson.
I mean, they're going to absolutely obliterate Clemson, and they're going to obliterate. I mean, it might be Tennessee, Texas, but it'll probably be Georgia, Texas again. It's just so boring. And, yeah, whatever.
It's probably going to, it's probably going to be
boring.
Texas, Tennessee, or Oregon, or Ohio State. I guess it could be either of those. I'm going to go Texas, Tennessee, Penn State, Georgia.
So who would beat Oregon in that?
That's going to be the 4.
That
I think Tennessee beats Oregon.
Oh, Tennessee beats Oregon. That's what it would be. Gotcha.
It's just hard for me.
It's gonna be Rose Bowl, right?
It's
Oregon.
It's hard for me to root, not root. It's hard for me to justify a SEC team losing to a Big Ten team. But I do think if there's a team that's going to do it, it's Oregon. So it could be Texas, Oregon.
Yeah.
Texas playing against Oregon, Georgia playing Penn State.
Yeah.
Winner. So it could be Georgia, Texas getting the natty.
Dude, I just think that if you, like, for example, say SMU and Alabama are in a playoff, and then you play, say you are Georgia, and the winner of SMU and Alabama is about to play you. Do you watch SMU film for a second this week or this month? Absolutely not. You would only be watching Alabama film because everyone would absolutely, without a doubt, beyond any shadow of a doubt, would know that Alabama would win that game. And it's just so irritating to me that they still got in just because of whatever, deserving. Yeah, it is what it is.
I will say if there's a team that's in the field right now that could beat Alabama with their quarterback, there's a lot, actually. I think all of them could beat Alabama, to be honest with you. Could be. This Alabama team, I just don't trust it. I just don't.
When Alabama plays big games, they literally play so good. And when they play nobodies, they don't. So maybe that would mean that they would play bad against SMU.
Jennings, the quarterback for SMU, his speed and his ability to get out of the pocket would give Alabama fits.
Yeah. Did you watch the game last night? I thought he was the only good team that played offense for them.
I think these games, though, they're determined in the trenches. Yeah. And our offensive line / defensive line, I think, would obliterate them. And that's where you're going to see the offset. It's not going to be in the skill positions per se. Yeah. It's going to be in the offense and defensive line.
Yeah, I would be interested if SMU plays Texas, how fast their quarterback would get injured. Not really like how many yards. Like he obviously would play amazing, but Texas would just sack him every single play. But anyway, we've been talking about sports for 20 minutes. I'm really glad I have that live. One day, 30 years from now, whenever we're both still Alabama fans and buddies, we'll get to go back and listen to this time.
58 out of the top 100 recruits this year are going to SEC schools.
That's fascinating.
58 of them are going to SEC schools.
That's 58% of the top 100.
Yes. 58 out of the top 100. That's good. It's quick math. That means what? 42.
Yeah, are going to any other school.
It's 42%.
That's split between Big 10, Big 12, ACC.
Yeah, Mountain West.
Whatever. Yeah. And then, I don't know. It's just, how could you hear that and not think there's a bias? Like, the bias is real.
100%. The bias is real.
The NFL
It's about an
First round
8%
NFL
bias, roughly.
You're an idiot.
It's about an 8% bias.
5 conferences.
8% bias.
I don't know what 5 or 20. So it's 20 minus 58. So about a 38% bias. I'd say.
I could talk about Alabama football for another hour, but
hey, well, this is the main thing that we have to hold on to. I think his name is Andre DiBonsta, the #1 basketball recruit next year's class. Supposedly going to Alabama next year. They just got rid of his crystal ball to
they pulled it from BYU.
And our recruiting guy posted on Twitter, early bird gets the ... You know what I mean, Roll Tide, right before it happened. So before the crystal ball got taken
He couldn't go to the UNC Alabama game, so he sent his dad to go to the game for him.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty goated. And Alabama absolutely obliterated them. So
speaking of Alabama though, we're like projected to land a Gardendale guy from Florida.
Oh wait, like the transfer?
Defensive tackle,
Showtime Kelby Collins?
Apparently he's
Shut up.
Apparently.
Let's freaking go.
But
that guy graduated with Sally. That guy's freaking cool.
Apparently he's like Alabama's like kind of top of his list.
He's kind of like I think he was like a rotation defensive end this year for Florida. He's pretty good. Like Gracie's dad loves him.
He was a freshman All-American.
He's a freshman right now?
He was a freshman All-American. All-American.
Wow. Shout out that guy. Showtime Kelby Collins. You know Merritt, Sally's friend that went #1 overall in the professional volleyball draft this year? Kelby Collins. Huge crush. Tried to date Merritt all of high school. Never did. That's crazy.
I would say this whole thing, though, the worst thing is the Auburn fans thinking that every player in the portal wants to go to Auburn. It's so freaking funny.
The worst part about sports is the team that is the opposite of the one that I like, thinking that their team is good. That's
the worst part. Myers got to drive a fast car this weekend.
I didn't get to drive it.
Or, you know what I mean, drive in.
I got to ride in 2 of my dream cars this weekend. It was really cool.
Chevy Impala.
Mm-hmm.
And
Toyota Corolla 2018 model.
2018 Toyota Corolla. It's my brother's car, I think.
He has a Camry.
Whatever. Same thing.
Yep, same thing.
Hey, guys, thank you so much for listening. We love you guys. I hope you're having a wonderful Christmas.
Thanks, Kellen.
Thanks, Kellen. I love you.
Nobody's ever had a chestnut before.